we will see. I'm Mike Slater from Politics by Faith. Bill O'Reilly has your message of the day. Next.
Homeowners, when is the last time you checked on your home title? If your answer is never, then this is for you. Scammers are stealing titles, and your equity is a target. Criminals forge your signature. Just like that, your home title can be transferred out of your name. That's why I partnered up with Home Title Lock, so you can find out today if you're already a victim. Please use my promo code BILL at HometitleLock.com, and you'll get a free title history report. Plus, you will get a free trial of their $1 million triple lock protection. That's 24/7 monitoring of your title, urgent alerts of any changes, and if fraud does happen, they'll spend up to $1 million to fix it. That's HometitleLock.com, promo code BILL.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli here with our great friend Chris Cooper from Serenity Wealth Management. Hi, Chris.
How are you, Vic?
I don't want to put anybody else down, but when you go up and visit you at Serenity Wealth, your place looks like home.
So a lot of financial advisory offices, they have, the big mahogany desk or the big marble entryways and things like that, the stock market channel on the TV when you walk in the door, right? That doesn't really drive a good conversation. Good financial guidance and advice starts with a good conversation. People are nervous. People are afraid to talk about finances, right? And so you can see a little standoffish. Well, my objective is to try to have a good casual conversation. By having those conversations about life, goals, objectives, it's what makes me understand what our financials are supposed to fund.
So if somebody does want to have a good conversation, how do they do that? How do they find you?
Our website is the best way to do that because you can get all the information you need, understand where we are, get a little bit more information, all that. SerenityWealthNow.com.
Reach out to Chris and Stacy today at SerenityWealthNow.com.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors, LLC.
Time now for the O'Reilly Update message of the day. On this Thursday in baseball, if you never get a hit, you're taken out of the lineup. But in politics, it's different. There is no daily success failure barometer other than people voting. And victory at election time certainly does not always indicate worthy performance. What good has Senator Chuck Schumer done for the people of New York? The city may soon elect a communist mayor because poor voters cannot afford to live there. The justice system has fallen apart with no bail, highest taxes in the nation. Schumer says and does nothing. How about Senator Mitch McConnell in Kentucky? Backroom Mitch single-handedly killed Kate's Law, which would have slapped onerous prison time on foreign criminals who defy deportation and illegally return to the USA. There are legions of them. Somebody tell the backdoor man. Governor J.B. Pritzker of Illinois is perhaps the worst. On his watch, thousands of Chicagoans have been shot dead in the streets. The vast majority, African American. When asked about President Trump sending troops to protect Chicago people, Pritzker told the press that Trump is trying to impose a Nazi dictatorship on America. Is there a psychiatrist in the House? The reason we have so many bad politicians in America is no accountability by the voters. So it's really our fault. I'm Bill O'Reilly. I approve the message by writing it. You can reach me, Bill at BillO'Reilly.com, Bill at BillO'Reilly.com, name and town if you wish to opine. Now let's go to the mail. Paul on a message board. Let's give J.B. Pritzker credit where it is due. He welcomed federal help, just not the National Guard. FBI and ATF welcome. There is a stigma having military on our streets. Well, not for me. I mean, if I'm living in the south side of Chicago and I'm watching young people shoot each other dead, I'm welcoming the troops that will stop that. So I no stigma to me. I don't know why there would be for anybody. We do not live in a dictatorship, obviously. Trying to protect the people here. Concierge member Kevin, what do the good people of Chicago, why do the good people of Chicago elect these crooked politicians? They are not problem solvers, just hungry power grabbers. Not just Chicago, it's New York, it's LA, it's San Francisco. And I gave you the two reasons: ignorance and entitlements. That's why. Bob Loudy, Tampa, Florida. In 1957, President Eisenhower sent the National Guard to Arkansas to enforce the law that was about segregation, and it was no longer a state right. Why can't President Trump do it? Because it was a totally different thing. State of Arkansas was violating federal law. LA and Chicago haven't violated federal law. They refuse to protect their people. There's a difference legally. Frank Woods, Buffalo, New York. What message do you think Modi in India is sending President Trump by meeting with Xi and Putin? That Modi is going to do what he wants. Okay. Let's see how your economy goes. Modi has blood on his hands. India should not be buying Russian oil. That's it. In a moment, something you might not know. Cold and flu season coming on up. We all know it. And it really is nothing to take lightly. So when people start getting sick all across the country, medications disappear. Everybody wants it at the same time. So it's very, very smart to have a pharmacy you can count on, like All Family Pharmacy. Right now, they're helping Americans get ahead of the curve with 10% off antibiotics, antivirals, other essentials. You know how important it is to have the right meds when you get sick, particularly when your kids get sick. You don't want to be going into the doctor's office, spending all the time. You want to have them at your home. So if you have a few months supply, you don't have to worry. And that's what we're doing here. If you believe in medical freedom, okay, and taking care of your family, as I do, this is the pharmacy for you. So please go to allfamilypharmacy.com/Bill. Use code BILL10 to save.
Craving the freshest in town? Anthony's Produce is your daily destination for nature's finest. For 28 years, we've been your trusted supplier for everything seasonal. It's homegrown apple season. Choose from many local varieties. Grab some caramel dip or try our made-in-house gourmet caramel apples. Fall decorating? We've got Hardy Mums, corn stalks, straw bales, pumpkins, gourds, Indian corn, and jumbo specialty pumpkins. Perfect for carving or pies. Plus seasoned firewood available for pickup or delivery. Open Monday through Saturday, 7 to 6:30, and Sundays, 8 to 5. On Jungerman Road or at anthonysproduce.com.
Dude, this house is perfect. Crumbs everywhere, sticky counters. I've already texted the colony.
Sweet. I'll bring my 500 cousins. This'll be the biggest ant rager of the summer.
Let's party! Wait, what's that sound? Oh, no, it's those trucks with the green wheels. Party's over, man. Party's over.
This is Derek, the owner of All Solutions Pest Control. We'd love to help you out. Give us a call today for a free estimate at 636-486-7888.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
Now, the O'Reilly Update brings you something you might not know. 68 years ago today, the governor of Arkansas deployed
made in St. Louis
National
for
Guard
St.
in that
Louis
state to block black students from attending a segregated high school. In response, President Eisenhower dispatched the military to enforce integration and overwhelm the Arkansas authorities. Here is the story behind the Little Rock Nine. In 1954, the Supreme Court ruled that separate schools for whites and blacks were unconstitutional. The decision started the slow and often violent dismantling of segregation throughout the South. By 1957, Arkansas had already integrated several state universities. But when 9 black students decided to attend an all-white Central High School in Little Rock, protests ensued. On September 4th, Governor Orville Faubus ordered the state's National Guard to surround the school. Video of the 9 black students being heckled, screamed at, spit on, made international news. 3 weeks later, President Eisenhower issued Executive Order 10730, placing the Arkansas National Guard under federal authority and sending 1,000 troops from the 101st Airborne Division to Little Rock. That evening, Eisenhower addressed the nation.
The interest of the nation in the proper fulfillment of the law's requirements cannot yield to opposition and demonstrations by some few persons. Mob rule can not be allowed to override the decisions of our courts.
The next day, the Little Rock Nine attended Central High School for the first time. Soldiers remain on campus for the next 6 months. And here's something else you might not know. Despite the Supreme Court ruling, segregation in the South persisted. The last public school to bar entry to black students was in Clarksville, Mississippi. It finally admitted African American children in 1969. Back after this. Are you feeling the impact of recent timeshare industry changes? Now more than ever, the costs of timeshare ownership far outweigh the benefits. My friends at Lone Star Transfer are the only company I trust to help you get out. Our listeners' positive feedback demonstrates why I've supported the company for years. For more than a decade, they have helped over 20,000 owners get out of the timeshare. Their exclusive options can help you get out faster and easier, more than any other option in the country. They are the only company that will give you a written guarantee and release you from your timeshare in a specific time frame. With an A+ rating at the Better Business Bureau, thousands of 5-star reviews, customer service is their top priority. For free consultation and a guaranteed solution, please call 855-551-7066. That's 855-551-7066, or go to LoneStarTransfer.com. Thank you for listening to the O'Reilly Update. I am Bill O'Reilly. For more news and honest analysis, please go to BillO'Reilly.com. No spin, just facts, and always looking out for you.
This is News Talk STL. KLYHD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. Texas lawmakers have passed a measure that would let state residents sue out-of-state abortion pill providers for as much as $100,000. Correspondent Ben Thomas reports.
That would include drug makers, doctors prescribing the pills, and anyone who mails the medication. It's the first legislation of its kind in any state. Supporters hail it as a tool to stop medication abortions, which remain available despite being illegal in Texas. Abortion rights groups deride the measure as a bounty hunter bill, saying it would encourage private citizens to engage in a form of legalized vigilante justice. Governor Greg Abbott is an opponent of abortion and is expected to sign the bill into law. It would take effect in December, though legal challenges are likely. I'm Ben Thomas.
Governor Ron DeSantis says Florida deserves another congressional seat.
The Republican governor blames the Census Bureau for shortchanging Florida based on the 2020 census numbers. The nation's third most populous state gained only one additional seat for a total of 28 in the House of Representatives. DeSantis argues that an undercount of almost 3.5% missed around 761,000 residents. The once-a-decade census figures are used to divvy up congressional seats among the 50 states in a process known as apportionment. Rich Thomason, Washington.
The FBI seized phones, computer equipment, and typed documents from the home of John Bolton as part of an investigation into whether President Trump's first-term national security advisor mishandled government secrets. That's according to court records unsealed Thursday. No charges have been filed. On Wall Street, the Dow up by 350 points. The Nasdaq rose 210. More at townhall.com.
Are you having trouble hearing? Hearing loss can devastate the quality of your life. Now, there's an affordable fix for you or your loved one. Rated the best hearing aids of 2025 by Forbes Health, Audion Hearing has the highest quality hearing aids at the lowest prices, starting at just $98 a pair.
I actually like them better than my old $5,000 hearing aids.
I could not believe how my hearing and life changed.
Join over 1 million happy customers by going to audionhearing.com. That's AUDIEN hearing.com.
Hi,
Rhett Rasmussen of BestHotGrill.com. Step up your grilling game with our Solaire portable infrared grills. Our compact everywhere is a favorite of RVers and trailer pullers. Solaire infrared provides the quick sear for bar marks and texture needed to properly finish sous vide. Use a portable alongside your larger conventional grill to create an instant sear zone and more juicy and flavorful food. Learn more at BestHotGrill.com. Affordable, powerful, portable infrared grills at BestHotGrill.com.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Friday morning starts off dry, increasing clouds, a low of 64. Not quite as cool in the morning, but it doesn't warm up a whole lot because of the clouds thickening up and turning mostly cloudy to overcast with a chance of rain in the afternoon. A high of 71 on Friday. Scattered showers in the afternoon to the evening. That could impact some Friday night football games. Rain in general is light, not much of any thunder, but still could be wet in some spots Friday in the afternoon and evening. Saturday is going to be dry, though, a high of 75 and mostly sunny. Sunny skies on Sunday with a high of 75. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
Hey, it's Jamie Ullman here with my good friend Rob Very, St. Louis Bath and Renovation, STLBR.com, and you've got some things with which to wow our people.
Are you tired of cleaning on Saturdays? Let us help you out. Zero grout, zero maintenance products for you and your home.
And you want to talk to people.
Absolutely. You can find us at www.stlbr.com. Send us your info. Book a quick 5-minute phone call with us. We'll see if we're able to help you out.
St. Louis Bath and Renovation, supporting free, common sense, conservative radio, STLBR.com.
Thanks, Jamie.
Are the days of a personal doctor gone? Not at Body of Health Direct Primary Care. I'm Dr. Randy Tobler to share how our design is putting the care back into healthcare. Plain and simple, our members, not insurance companies, get our exclusive focus. That means same or next day appointments, responsive answers to your concerns, and a no-spin, big tool chest approach. It's about time you get serious time devoted to your medical needs. To learn about healthcare the way it ought to be, schedule a discovery call today at bodyofhealth.com. That's bodyofhealth.com.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
A big mess or a big win for conservatives? What's going to happen with this special session? We're talking to State Representative Jim Murphy about that. 7:05 on Friday.
Morning starting at 5:30 on News Talk STL. This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
You're lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr. on Capitol Hill today, defending his leadership as health secretary and continuing his criticism before the Senate Finance Committee today, saying that changes to the CDC were necessary because of how it handled the pandemic. Kennedy faced a barrage of questions over his vaccine policies, as well as the recent firing of CDC Director Susan Menares.
4:06, and welcome into the Thursday, September 4th edition of the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. It is also opening day for the NFL. I know a lot of us conservatives have kind of given up on the NFL, and I did for the first season that they became woke, but they seem to have gotten away from that a little bit, and so I have been following the season. We talked about it yesterday. I'm eagerly awaiting tonight's game between the defending Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles and my beloved Dallas Cowboys. Should be a good game tonight. Hopefully Dallas won't get blown out and won't be embarrassed. Speaking of Dallas, as you know, my partner Tim Jones is in Dallas right now for the State Policy Conference. I think it's the 3rd annual one. You know, technology is great, Joey, but sometimes it doesn't always work, and there's always some hiccups every now and then. So we are trying to get those things worked out. Speaker Jones will be joining me later throughout the show. During the show, He'll also have with him State Senator Nick Schroer, who is also down in Dallas at the state policy conference meeting. We opened with that clip of RFK Jr. being grilled today. He was before a House hearing on vaccine mandates, just how he is running the HHS and all of that. A lot of rancor, you could say the least, that happened today in those hearings. Bill Cassidy, who is a doctor and is a frequent critic of Senator Kennedy, he grilled not Senator Kennedy, that's his father, grilled the Secretary Kennedy on the CDC vaccine advisor panel and the cancellation of COVID-19 visa or vaccine grants. Of course, Senator Bill Cassidy, he is a senator from Louisiana. He is also a doctor. And when RFK was going through his confirmation hearings, he was a pivotal vote. All of the liberals, when everybody watches politics, was basically looking at Bill Cassidy to see what he was going to do. Was he going to stand up and fight what they say against Kennedy's non-science, or was he going to go with what the president wanted, his guy in there, and that's what he did. He also, another person that is concerned about what RFK's Jr. is Senate Majority Whip John Barrasso. He is also a doctor. He's an orthopedic surgeon. He has said he's grown deeply concerned, quote unquote, over HHS policies under Kennedy's tenure. He went on to say that Americans don't know who to rely on. There are real concerns that safe, proven vaccines like measles, like hepatitis B, could be in jeopardy that could put Americans at risk and reverse decades of progress. We know that the liberals are trying to make hay and trying to make as many political points as they can, and they do see that RFK is an Achilles heel for the president. Some of the things that RFK has pushed for have been controversial. I mean, he has been known for years to be against vaccines, certain vaccines. He has said that there is proof that the vaccinations cause autism. I've got something here in my stack that he said he'll be making a major announcement next month on what he says are the real causes behind autism. He went on to say, we're funding certain interventions now that are clearly, almost certainly causing autism, and we're going to be able to address those in September. You know, a lot of people look at RFK as some type of crackpot, and some of the things that he's doing is to enrich himself because he had a law practice that sued vaccination companies on this. But I always looked at it like this. Look, RFK is part of an elite connected class. His father was the former attorney general. His uncle was the former president of the United States. I mean, some of the things that he says, some people would consider wackadoodle, but I also know that somebody like him is very, very connected and knows things within the government that we don't know. And so I think we should listen to some of the things that he says and study them a little more closely. I think it's unusual that autism seems to have just jumped dramatically in the last 20 or 30 years. It's the same with what's it called? The hyperactivity. What is it, Joey? ADHD, that there's been just a rapid rise.
You've got it, whatever it is.
ADHD. I've said this many times on the show. I can remember when I was in elementary school in the mid to late 70s, and you'd probably have one, maybe two kids that would have to go down to the nurse and take their hyper pills. But in the last 20, 30 years, it seems to have exploded, where it's an industry. And we do know that medicine is a great thing. It has helped solve a lot of our maladies, but also it's an industry. And it's an industry when you turn on your television, especially on Sunday mornings when older Americans are the ones most likely watching the Sunday programs. And what you'll see over and over and over are medications designed for older people. We have seen constantly commercials for any type of malady you may have. They ask you to, go see your doctor and tell them about this particular drug. So medicine is big, big business. It also helps people, but people are making a profit. And I think it's more than right for folks to question whether autism comes from vaccines or whether some of these vaccines are necessary. The Surgeon General of Florida made huge news yesterday when he announced that the state of Florida will no longer mandate vaccines for school children. And that's for measles, rubella, hepatitis, COVID, you name it. They won't require that. I don't know how I feel about it. As a kid who in the 70s, started kindergarten in 1970, I had to have all of the shots, rubella, measles, in order to go to school. I understand the civil rights aspect of it is, should the state be mandating parents to give their child's vaccines? I can see that aspect of it. I see the public health aspect of it is, should kids come to school unvaccinated and potentially could spread a disease to other kids? Who knows? We've seen a massive rise in diseases that I thought were extinct, and a lot of Americans thought were extinct, that have made a comeback. Some of the experts claim that the reason why those diseases are coming back is because of skepticism with mandates. I think part of the cause is also that we've had a great deal of illegal immigrants. Children have come into our country the last 10, 15 years. They are usually not inoculated against these vicious diseases. And of course, they're going to spread them to those here in America that are kind of suspect of vaccines. And so you can have that spread. I can see both sides of the issue. I do know one thing that I am not in favor of, and I'm glad that our side, our activists, have been adamantly against this. And this is what the Surgeon General in Florida was first advocating for, and that's against giving children COVID shots, mandating that. That's absolutely nuts to me. And I've listened to liberals talk about how this is going to be so dangerous because we're not giving COVID shots to babies. And they mentioned that a certain amount of babies have died because of COVID. Look, when we were going through the great pandemic of 20 and 21 and 22, most of the folks that got seriously sick or got this disease were people that already had conditions already that kind of exacerbated the disease, and people that were older and sick. People that were young adults, people that were children did not get this disease, did not get COVID. And that's one of the saddest thing about COVID, because a lot of grandchildren couldn't see their grandparents because they were so fearful that the kids were going to spread it to them when they were not the ones that were getting this disease. So I am 100% in favor of no mandates for giving babies and young children COVID. They weren't the ones that were affected by it. It was older citizens and those with premorbidities, I think they call it in medical jargon, were the ones that were suffering. So that is really the big, huge news today is Senator Kennedy why do I keep promoting him? Secretary Kennedy, HHS, was before the House today. He was grilled as you would have expected. And I think we have my partner on the line, Speaker Tim Jones. How are you, my friend?
Well, doing great, Chris and Joey, but technology, once again, not our friend, but our complete enemy. I'm sitting right here by State Senator Nick Schroer, but he can't talk to you all because we had this whole fancy display set up and everything was working except you guys couldn't hear us, but we could hear you. It was weird. I don't know, but here we are. Excellent. We're still in Dallas.
All right. And I think you mentioned yesterday that there was a slight cool down in Dallas today. It's not 170 degrees.
No,
it's a little cooler.
Today it's 100. No, today it's 100
degrees.
Okay. Today it's 100 degrees. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. All right. What's the big news going on at the State Policy Conference?
Well, we're at the State Freedom Caucus Network.
Sorry about that.
Today was the directors meeting. So 13 of people like me around the country. We've got 13 states currently in the State Freedom Caucus Network. And we just added 2 states in the last year. We added Oklahoma and we added the blue state of Maryland. So there are freedom caucuses. There's freedom and liberty fighters, even in deep blue states. And we were told today that we're going to be adding 3 more states within the next year. So very exciting. Tonight, the chairman and the vice chairs of all the Freedom Caucuses rolled in. So we've got State Senator Nick Schroer here. We got State Representative Justin Sparks here, the leadership from all the other 12 states. Tonight, we're having an opening reception for the leadership team. And then tomorrow, we will kick things off with all of the legislators from around the country. We're expecting over 100 legislators here, and we'll be having a keynote address on Friday night, I believe, from Tom Homan, and on Saturday night from Governor Ron DeSantis.
All right. Sounds like a huge deal. We'll try to get State Senator Nick Schroer on the show. He's there with you. We'll get the microphones, get everything working with him during the show. Tim, the Post-Dispatch today had the proposed Missouri First map on it. I was reading a lot of the comments, and I think most of the criticism, of course, was focused on the 5th District because that is the seat that will likely turn Republican if this seat if this map is passed. And the concerns that people had, and I kind of expressed this yesterday, is that is it unusual for people in urban Kansas City? Will they have the same interests with people in mid-Missouri? Your thoughts to that criticism?
Well, they will not only have, if the map passes, and if things do change to the point where we no longer have Emmanuel Cleaver representing that district by himself, but there will now be 3 congresspeople. So Kansas City will go from having representation from 1 Democrat in the minority to having 3 Republicans currently in the majority. So I would argue they're going to be better off with having more representation, with more congressmen, especially if they all remain in the majority.
And of course, the Nick Schroer is down there with you, which means Missouri legislature is not in extraordinary session. When does it start back up? I'm assuming Monday. And what should we expect?
The House was in session today.
Oh, it was. I'm sorry.
The House gavelled in yesterday for a technical session, and then they went back into session today for the committees. So right now, as we're sitting here, I believe both the House Redistricting Committee, which is being chaired by Richard West, and the Elections Committee, which is, I can't remember the representative that chairs that. I'd have to look them up real fast. Oh, it's Peggy McGaugh. I'm sorry, it's Peggy McGaugh. The House Elections Committee, they're both hearing the bills. So the House Redistricting Committee is hearing the MAP bill, and the House Redistricting Committee is hearing the MAP bill, and the House Elections Committee is hearing the IP reform, the initiative petition reform bill. So those hearings are expected to go, Chris, late into the afternoon, maybe late in the evening, maybe late into the night. But whatever may happen, I am being assured that Republicans have the votes on both of those committees to vote both of those bills out. And that means they'll go through the Rules Committee of the House tomorrow. And then next week, yes, the entire House will head into Jefferson City on Monday for a debate on Monday and a perfection of the bill. And then a third read and final passage of the bill is expected on Tuesday, when both of the pieces of legislation will be kicked over to the state Senate, when Nick Schroer and all of his colleagues will go into session on the Senate side, and they will continue the deliberations on both of those pieces of legislation.
All right. It's Thursday. Steve Bucci is back. I'm going to give him plenty of time because I got a lot of questions for him. Of course, he's the visiting fellow at the Heritage Foundation. We'll have him coming up at next. 4:45 on Chris's Corner, we will discuss ICE. ICE is getting its own armed enforcement agency within itself. I'll tell you more about that. Speaker Stump Speech 507.
We will have one.
Okay, and at 5:24, we'll speak with Jesse Kaiser, owner and co-founder of the Kaiser Enterprise. We'll talk about his op-ed in the Missouri Times called Opinion, Americans Need Transparency and Accountability in Hospital Billing. You're listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Friday morning starts off dry, increasing clouds, a low of 64. Not quite as cool in the morning, but it doesn't warm up a whole lot because of the clouds thickening up and turning mostly cloudy to overcast with a chance of rain in the afternoon. A high of 71 on Friday. Scattered showers in the afternoon to the evening. That could impact some Friday night football games. Rain in general is light, not much of any thunder, but still could be wet in some spots Friday in the afternoon and evening. Saturday is going to be dry, though, a high of 75 and mostly sunny. Sunny skies on Sunday with a high of 75. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
Hey, everybody, it's your buddy Todd Showalter from the Right Mind Show, along with my buddy Joey V. And remember, we're not on just Saturdays at 5. Now we're on Sundays at 2.
Putting the fun in our dysfunctional world. It's the Right Mind Show with Todd Showalter.
You know, when I chose my bank, Royal Banks of Missouri, I didn't want to be just a number on a screen to some big out-of-town bank. I wanted the people to know my name and understand my community. That's why I've been banking with Royal Banks of Missouri for well over 20 years. And Royal Banks of Missouri have been helping families and businesses in the St. Louis area for more than 60 years. They celebrated their 60th anniversary last year. And they're celebrating a milestone in a big way as well. This week, Royal Bank opened their brand new University City headquarters at Olive and McKnight. And that proves that they're bringing their corporate home back where it all began and making that commitment. You know, Royal has 16 convenient locations across the St. Louis area and St. Charles, Illinois, even up in Northeast Missouri. Royal Banks is still locally owned, independent, and they're here to stay. Whether you need everyday banking, commercial financial solutions, you'll find their personalized service is second to none. Take it from me. Visit today, royalbanksofmo.com, royalbanksofmo.com to learn more. Royal Banks, Missouri, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Hey, it's Susie Moore. If new flooring makes you think hassle, think again, because Michael's Flooring is changing the game. For over 30 years, Michael's has been locally owned and trusted for quality, variety, and amazing service. Whether it's carpet, hardwood, laminate, luxury vinyl, or ceramic tile, their expert team makes installing new floors exciting, not stressful. That's why customers keep coming back. Visit Michael's Flooring at St. Peter's, Starting Prairie, Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloored.com. That's igotfloored.com.
Psst. Want to hear the best kept secret in St. Louis? Steph's Pizza. We're not afraid to compare squares. According to our customers, we have the best St. Louis style pizza anywhere, and we can't disagree. Dine in, pick up, or delivery in St. Peter's, St. Charles, Lake St. Louis on Confort Trail, and the original Stefanina's in O'Fallon on Veterans Memorial Parkway. Check us out at steffspizza.com. Steph's Pizza. We're not afraid to compare squares.
Join us for the annual St. Louis County Lincoln Reagan Day Dinner on Saturday, September 27th at the River City Casino Hotel Ballroom. Hear from top Missouri state and federal officials, plus special guest federal IRS agent Joseph Ziegler, who played a key role in the Hunter Biden investigation. Enjoy dinner, networking, and a silent auction. For tickets, call Renee Artman at 314-398-6667 or email reneeartman1530@hotmail.com.
This Steve Bucci update is brought to you by Hydrodynamics. For all your lawn irrigation, outdoor lighting, drainage, hardscapes, and turf management, online at hydrodynamicscorp.com. You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Tensions are growing between the United States and Venezuela. The latest example, this video that you're looking at, a U.S. military strike on that boat in the Caribbean that President Trump says killed 11 people. The president said that airstrike happened today, killed 11 gang members who he says were transporting drugs toward the U.S. The United States military has sent battleships and Marines toward Venezuela in recent weeks. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro has deployed troops, calling the United States moves the greatest threat in 100 years.
426 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arp show. And Tim, when I saw that video and I heard about this, I have to admit, I jumped up and shouted for joy because I was about time. This should have been done a long time ago.
Yeah, sorry about that, Chris.
No,
I was messing around with. We're having a lot of technological problems. I'm really sorry.
You're good,
I'm
man.
trying to do it all by myself. I need Joey here.
There you go.
Right now.
There you go. Well, I tell you what, it's been
whatever you said. I completely agree with it.
I got it. Well, you know what? It's been 2 weeks, and my oh my, have I missed this?
Steve Bucci, visiting fellow for Special Ops at the Heritage Foundation.
Oh, yes. What were you about to ask me? Do you expect me to talk?
I feel like I've just had a crack hit or something. I've been wanting to hear that and talk to this man for a long, long time. Steve, before we get to business, we hear you were out hunting buffalo or bison out west. What's going on with you?
No, I don't think you're allowed to hunt them. We did see some running around, and unlike some people with seemingly strange thought processes, you don't go and touch the hairy cows. You leave them alone. They're wild animals. You're not supposed to play with them.
I have seen
they're pretty impressive. Big animals.
I have seen plenty of videos of people that want to go take selfies with them and touch them, and didn't work out too well for them in the end when they did that. All right, Steve, the big news yesterday that the action to President Trump on that vessel that was from Venezuela that was transporting drugs. Look, I've always said that we could solve the drug cartel problem in a heartbeat because we know where they are. We can listen to them. We could blow them out of the sky, blow them out of the water. What's your thoughts on this action by the president?
Well, the president's tried to do a lot of stuff with Venezuela. He's tried to work with them, and they just continue to play this, shaking their fist at the giants from up north, but continue to act as a base for the importation of drugs as well as gangbangers from their country. And President Trump finally just said, enough's enough. We don't have to play by the rules with these guys. They're criminals. They're bringing something in that is clearly illegal. We can see them transporting transloading the stuff off the different vessels. So he took action. And, good on them. There's already some people up here complaining, but they have rights. You can't just shoot them. Well, no, they don't. They're not American citizens. They have no protection if they're doing criminal activity on the high seas. They're pirates. And under international law, you can take military action against them. So they did. Big message to the Tren de Agua gangbangers that are in our country as well as in Venezuela, because they shipped some up here. The gloves are off. They're going to take them out if they come and do this. This was a speedboat. When I was working in the Pentagon, we had issues with these guys bringing up semi-submersibles. They looked like they were in little bitty submarines that just went really, really close to the water, mostly below it. And some of those are hard to see, even if you're on a ship around them. But with our aerial reconnaissance capabilities, I think we can spot these guys. And now we're not going to wait for them to get to our shores. We're going to put them down. And people can complain if they want. The few people who are doing that, the majority of us are just like you. They're clapping and saying, go for it, Mr. President. Protect the country. That's your job.
In expanding off that point, Steve, and by the way, Steve, when I was actually out in Montana, I was out in Wyoming earlier, and everybody we run into, they all call them hairy cows out there. It's very funny. That's the inside joke. Steve, what is the issue? I've only seen some scattered headlines regarding Maduro, right? And he's puffing his chest and doing some saber rattling as well. Is there connection to the Tren de Aragua situation? Is that totally separate? And whatever the case may be, I mean, what is Maduro doing other than just, I guess, trying to impress his fan base in his home country?
Well, two things. One, the whole machismo thing, he's got to show that he's to stand up to the North Americans from a manly standpoint. But this is also an income stream for him. His government is funded by drug money. And so he doesn't want to see these guys shut down. He doesn't want them passing drugs in his country. He's more than happy to send them up to ours, though. He doesn't like this. He wants this to continue, and President Trump is saying no. So he immediately turns it into an issue. Oh, they're trying to get rid of me. This is all just, anti-Venezuelan propaganda and actions, and we have to protect ourselves against it. Look, if they want to keep this knucklehead in office down there, that's their business. We know he's a dictator. We know he abuses his own people, and he's using that platform to threaten and harm Americans and American national interests. So we're not going to put up with it. So if he tries to respond by protecting those drug shipments, then some of his people, the actual military of Venezuela, could get involved in this. But I don't think that's going to stop President Trump. They come out in international waters to try and protect these guys. It's going to sink those vessels too.
Yesterday, Steve, the president of Poland, Karol Nawrocki, was in town and visiting with the president in the Oval Office. I didn't really realize this, that we have 10,000 or 8,000 troops in Poland. Is the reason for that to act as a buffer against Putin? And should we add more?
Well, they were sent there, back when Poland became a full member of NATO. We keep them there. It's on a rotational basis. It's not a permanent station, but the numbers stay about the same. And they train with the Poles, work with them. They've got a great military. They are full up, in agreement with the United States in protecting Europe from the Russians. They remember that, last time they had a lot of Russians in the country and nobody liked it, and they don't want them back again. So they're thrilled that we're willing to send some of our folks over there to work with them to make them more capable of defending themselves, but also to send a message to Putin that this is a no-go zone. Should we bring more over there? That's kind of one of the things that the administration is looking at. It's a deterrent from Putin coming up with plans to go after this NATO country. And we're letting the world know we take that NATO commitment seriously, and we're going to back it up. And Putin needs to stop the nonsense and back off. But he doesn't seem to be inclined to do that yet, because he's had so many years of Obama and Biden that he thinks now he can push around Trump too. He doesn't remember the last time Trump was in office, he couldn't push him around. Mm-hmm. And why he's trying to do it now, I'm not sure, but I don't think it's going to work out for him.
Steve, following up on Putin and bizarre things that have happened this week, I don't know, did you catch the story where he and Xi were caught in a hot mic moment discussing longevity and immortality, and many believe that they were referring to organ harvesting? So if anybody thought that these two were not bizarre, tyrannical dictators, I think the hot mic moment definitely proved the point, right?
Oh, absolutely. Xi, I'm not sure. Xi, Chinese leaders tend to think they're like semi-immortal already. He's not just a communist. He sees himself as literally like one of the old emperors in China. Mm-hmm. Putin's a thug. He's not some big intellectual. And for him to be talking about this stuff, if I was a poor person, a healthy poor person in Russia, I'd be a little nervous looking over my shoulder. I don't want to get in the wrong line and end up being part of, Putin's replacement parts system for himself, because he clearly wants to stay in office for as long as he can. He's kind of a health nut. He doesn't drink. He doesn't smoke. He, freaked out during COVID, wouldn't let people anywhere near him. I guess he does want to live forever, but the fact that they're talking about that gives you sort of a flavor of the mindset that these guys have, that they want to stay in power forever, even if it means, stuffing other people's parts inside their bodies.
And I had that in my stack. Putin said, biotechnology is continuously developing. Human organs can be continuously transplanted. The longer you live, the younger you become, and even achieve immortality. And then Xi said, some predict that in this century, humans may live up to 150 years old. So That's the talk between them. Steve, I want to ask you this as an old Army guy, and I mean old in the most affectionate way. I read today that the Army has canceled its command assessment program, which is a promotion board that factored psychological assessments and potential biases into leadership considerations. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth wrote on X, "Good riddance." Your thought on that as an old Army guy?
Yeah, that was a new sort of program, part of the wokeism that infected the Army and the rest of the military, starting under Obama, but reaching its apex under Biden. And it's detrimental to good order and discipline in military units. It's frankly, it's an Americanized version of what they had in the Soviet Union, where you had a political commissar who was there in military units looking over the commander's shoulder. And if you said anything out of line with the party direction, that this guy who was, not the same rank as a commander, was way below them usually. But one phone call and that commander would be out in the woods, getting handed or getting a bullet in the back of their head. This is the same with the commitment not to the party doctrine, but to the social doctrine of wokeism and DEI. So this is a good thing. You don't need that. There's a chain of command from commander to the commander above him and all the way up the line back to the SecDef and the president, that if a commander is doing something wrong, if they're breaking the rules, if they are violating regulations and giving illegal orders, there's a system to investigate them and then prosecute them for doing that. You don't need a separate chain of spies within the unit keeping track and assessing the commanders. It's the job of that commander's boss to assess them, not some, psych-trained political commissar. It's just, this was a good move, the correct thing to do. Look, there's enough commanders lose their jobs because they're doing things wrong, and they should when they break those rules. But that the way they were doing it with that woke command assessment, it was wrong, inappropriate, not the way our military runs. And I would agree with the SecDef. I'm glad to see it go.
Steve, finally, before we let you go, wondering if you have had a chance to receive the latest updates and information from the Middle East. We have, Chris and I were blessed with a wonderful trip over to Israel, courtesy of our good friends at Newsmax Media. And so we got to see a lot of these things firsthand that people have been debating for the last several years as to what's going on in that part of the world. And what we saw was that the Israelis are trying to do everything they can to clear Hamas out of Gaza, but yet at the same time, take care of the remaining civilian population, mainly the Palestinians that are in that region. Steve, I guess my question is, as this drags onward, is Israel going to be able to clear Hamas completely out, given the massive networks of tunnels there? Or are they just at some point going to have to go to some sort of containment strategy? What say you as to all of this and the status of this conflict?
And Steve, I want to add on top of that, could you also talk about Israel considering annexing the West Bank? How will that affect the war over there?
Yeah, look, getting rid of a terrorist organization like Hamas in the midst of that big population center is a pretty darn daunting task. We were not able to get rid of all these guys in Iraq when we were there. It's hard to kill an ideology, but Israel has said enough's enough. We cannot continue to live with these guys next door shooting at us and causing all this mayhem all the time. So they're making an effort. They're going to try and get rid of these guys and bring peace to the area while taking care of, as best they can, the civilians who prove themselves to be innocent and not part of the whole Hamas plan. It's a tough lift. It's going to be very difficult to do, but I think it's the smart thing to try and do, and I hope they can get there. Now, annexing the West Bank and Judea and Samaria, that they're going to make it that much harder, because now they're going to have to pacify a whole nother area of trying to clear out the terrorists that are there. Again, not saying it's impossible. It's very difficult, and Israel's going to continue to take grief from the rest of the world while they're doing it. But Mr. Netanyahu has said enough's enough. We can't put up with it anymore. We got to fix this problem once and for all. I hope they can do it.
Steve, I have one quick question for you. This was reported last week while you were out feeding the bison, but U.S. jets scrambled 4 Russian spy planes in 1 week. This was a week or so after the famous Alaskan summit. Was Putin trying to send a message to President Trump and America?
Yeah, absolutely. President Putin is trying to put a sharp stick in Trump's eye, trying to get him to back off, trying to get him to do anything that then Putin can claim, yeah, I'm really in charge. This guy, I've got his number just like I had on all those other presidents. And I don't think that's going to work with President Trump. But there's a lot of political theater going on, guys. This whole big parade thing in China, the big summit they just had, all of that is political theater aimed at their own domestic constituencies, their region, and then the rest of the world, and in particular the United States. They're trying to make themselves, all of them, look like they're the big dogs in town. America's a second-rate power now, and they're going to be able to do what they want. They're mistaken. We can still, those guys can march really straight in line, but, I'll go back to the old movie, The Dirty Dozen, when one of the former criminals is pretending to be a general, and he inspects the troops, and then he looks at their colonel and says, "Very pretty, Colonel, but can they fight?" And he's laughing.
Mm-hmm.
That's Donald Sutherland in his craziest part. But that's what we have to ask. The Chinese look very pretty, but can they fight? We'll only know that when something starts. I'm still putting my money on the United States of America.
And I still believe Donald Sutherland's most famous, prolific role was playing the psychiatrist in the Halloween movies. And will be ever known. He'll be forever known for that in my mind. That's Steve Bucci, visiting fellow at the Heritage Foundation. He's at heritage.org and on X, S. Bucci. Steve, we missed you tremendously. Can't wait to speak to you next week, my friend.
Sounds good, guys. I'll talk to you then.
All right. Chris's Corner coming up, and Justice Department has issued some more subpoenas regarding the Lisa Cook situation. We'll dive into that. And ICE is getting its own enforcement agency. Listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show on 1019 94.1 News Talk STL.
You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps from the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Friday morning starts off dry, increasing clouds, a low of 64. Not quite as cool in the morning, but it doesn't warm up a whole lot because of the clouds thickening up and turning mostly cloudy to overcast with a chance of rain in the afternoon. A high of 71 on Friday. Scattered showers in the afternoon to the evening. That could impact some Friday night football games. Rain in general is light, not much of any thunder, but still could be wet in some spots Friday in the afternoon and evening. Saturday is going to be dry, though, a high of 75 and mostly sunny. Sunny skies on Sunday with a high of 75. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Yes, I listen on my phone.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
Love the all-new News Talk STL app.
It is awesome.
And listen anytime.
Love the News Talk STL app.
Anywhere.
Larry Connors here, welcoming Tom Shaw Realtors. Nearly 100 years helping folks buy, sell acreage, homes, horse property. Call Tom, 636-432-1922. 432-1922.
The Herzog Foundation is the vision of its founder, Stanley Herzog, and it exists to promote quality Christ-centered K-12 education nationwide.
Hi, this is Chris Stegall with the Herzog Foundation. We offer a wide variety of resources relevant to today's families, including a free online publication called The Lion. The lion is one of God's most majestic creatures, symbolizing strength and courage. Named for its attributes, the Lion publication carries articles covering a wide range of topics facing American families and culture, especially related to the education of children. The Lion can be found online at readlion.com. That's READ lion.com.
Sign up for The Lion at readlion.com and find dozens of must-read articles published every day. Visit readlion.com and subscribe for the weekly and daily digests so you never miss an article. Readlion.com. That's readlion.com.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Dove season is here, deer season right around the corner. Hunters, get your supplies and your gear from the experts at Whistle Pig Outdoors in Troy. Waders, ammo, decoys, they've got the quality you expect from a family that lives the hunting lifestyle themselves. That's whistlepigoutdoors.com.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
Federal judge has stopped the Trump administration's attempt to cut $2.2 billion in research funding from Harvard University. The Massachusetts judge concluding that Trump used a, quote, anti-Semitism as a smokescreen to block billions in research funding illegally. The ruling comes amid the president's battle against America's Ivy League universities, leveraging federal funding to force changes to colleges around the country. That judge, who was appointed by President Obama, went on to write, now it's the job of the courts to safeguard academic freedom and freedom of speech as required by the Constitution.
4:49 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. And we know since President Trump has been in office, he has had a war on the Ivy League schools, which he should. They're out of control. I mentioned yesterday on Chris's Corner that more than 1 out of 5 recently posted job advertisements for faculty positions still ask for some type of statement related to DEI. That's according to a new report. And so it's still going on. And we're going to talk more about this in Chris's Corner.
Chris.
And if you don't know, now you know.
And now, Chris's Corner.
President Trump has another skull, another notch on his belt. Northwestern President Michael Schill, he announced his resignation amid the battle with the president. In April, the administration froze $790 million in federal funding, citing civil rights investigations into Northwestern's handling of protests and mistreatment of Jewish students. And this was the president's statement as he resigned. He said, quote, as I reflect on the progress we have made and what lies ahead, I believe now is the right time for new leadership to guide Northwestern into its next chapter. And therefore, I have decided in consultation with the leadership of the Board of Trustees that I will step down as president. And I and many, many conservatives say good riddance. And we know that the pressure that President Trump put on these Ivy League institutions to reform themselves was probably the reason why Northwestern's president announced his resignation today. We've talked about Lisa Cook. It was revealed the other day that she may have committed mortgage fraud on a third property. There has yet to be any subpoenas issued until today. The Justice Department issued subpoenas as part of a criminal investigation into claims that Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook submitted fraudulent information on mortgage applications. Stay tuned. This is about to get interesting. The funny thing about this to me is that she has never really gave an explanation on why she has claimed 3 different houses as her permanent residence. You think if these were false allegations that she would want to get that information out as quickly as possible to refute it. She has not. All we keep hearing from her and her lawyers is that the president trying to dismiss her or dismissing her is unfounded and illegal. Well, Louisiana Governor Jeff Landy said he'll take federal help, as did both of his state's GOP senators. Kennedy, JFK, or not John F. That is his name, John Kennedy. He told a publication, having the National Guard in a supporting role to free up more cops on the street, I think would be enormously beneficial. And Bill Cassidy, who is running for re-election this year and is a senator from Louisiana and who voted to impeach President Trump, said the move, quote, makes our communities safer. But, he had to take the middle of the road kind of approach. He said the National Guard deployment is not a long-term solution. ICE, U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, is creating its own armed enforcement body to investigate immigration application fraud and make arrests, according to the Wall Street Journal. Agents who go through training will now be allowed to arrest people for immigration violations or other criminal charges. I thought they would have anyway, and they will carry guns. The move is significant because until now, ICE was explicitly kept separate from immigration enforcement so that immigrants could feel comfortable submitting their personal information to the government and showing up for their interviews. That was the rationale behind it, of course. And D.C. Attorney General Brian Schwab, now check this out, this is incredible, has filed a suit against the Trump administration today, claiming Trump's use of the National Guard infringes on D.C. sovereignty and right to self-governance. You need to go back and look at the Constitution and look at your civics, Mr. Brian Schwab. The United States government, Congress, the president, they're the run that run DC. You did not have a sovereignty and right to self-governance in DC. That's absolutely crazy. And more than 1 out of 5 recently posted job after. Oh, I've already said that. And that's it. Thank you for Chris's Corner. Boy, I went through it too quickly, Joey. Tim, what do you think about that? DC says that they should have sovereignty and the right to self-governance. Somebody needs to go read their Constitution, don't they?
Well, you're right, Chris, because that's the problem, because they don't. I mean, that's just the simple answer to the question. And that's not a political response. That's a factual response, right? And so, all this yelling and screaming about rights that always come from the left, they manufacture these rights. The rights are in the Constitution. And as you pointed out, the way in which DC, and we've had this conversation with Zach Smith.
Mm-hmm.
We talked to him about this multiple times over the years. And he said, look, whether they like it or not is beside the point. DC was never, ever, ever meant to be its own state. It was set up to be exactly what it still is today, the seat of the federal government. It was supposed to be basically like neutral territory, right?
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't supposed to be a politically charged 51st state, which is what the left wants it to be now in 2025 America.
Tim, I think we got a little good cop, bad cop going here, because yesterday, we talked about how DC Mayor Bauer said she's going to cooperate with the Trump administration indefinitely on having National Guard and added federal presence in the city in order to stave off crime. And then the following day, you have the AG saying that he's filing a suit claiming Trump's use of the National Guard infringes on their sovereignty. Big good cop, bad cop going on here.
That's called having your cake and wanting to eat it too, right? So Muriel Bowser, as she's doing the right thing. Look, we gave her credit. We gave her credit yesterday, and we thanked her for acknowledging reality. But on the other hand, Chris, she's got to be careful to protect the left flank of her base if she wants to get reelected, most likely the next go-around. So hopefully the people of D.C. are realizing that her partnering with the federal government, with the Trump administration, is actually good for everyone in Washington, D.C., regardless of your politics.
And I've said many, many times, if you ask the residents there in D.C., I would bet you 9 out of 10 of them agree completely with the president's action. It's the activists, it's the politicians, it's the loud voices are the ones that are giving the impression that this is not wanted. But if you live in a crime-ridden neighborhood, you want any type of relief you can get. That's my
Absolutely.
opinion. All right, Tim,
Totally
we've got the Speaker Stump speech coming up. What are we talking about?
Yes, I believe Joey has a little clip for us from the very fiery Nigel Farage testimony before Congress yesterday. And we'll talk a little bit about that. But I mainly want to focus on, Chris, what the left and the left-wing media are ignoring. And that's what he said about free speech and how it is under threat all across Europe.
And you going to get Schroer on the air with you there, the senator?
We're going to continue to work on that. If not, I'm just going to give him the microphone at some point, and I'm going to take a break and let him talk to you all in the next, maybe in the next segment, next hour.
There you go. 4:57. You've been listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL, number one for live and local conservative talk.
Tony Colombo here for my dentist, Dr. Matt Boscia at New Creation Dental Care, the one-stop shop for all your family's dental needs. And Dr. Boscia is always expanding his services, now including the incredible all-on-4 full arch implant procedure, full mouth restoration that can give you back your smile in as little as 1 day. No more suffering with damaged or missing teeth or poor-fitting dentures. You can see some amazing smile makeovers, learn more about the all-on-4 procedure, and see everything Dr. Boscia can do right now at newcreationdentalcare.com.
Ready for instant curb appeal that comes with a 25-year transferable warranty? Call Rhino Shield today. We do brick, block, stucco, asbestos, aluminum, steel, cedar, and more. Over the past 20 years, we've done thousands of homes, businesses, churches, schools, condos, parking garages, large metal buildings, and strip malls, from Champaign to the Lake of the Ozarks. We do flat and sloped metal roofs to extend their lives too. Proud to be veteran-owned and manufactured in the good old USA, so we're tariff-free. We're exceeding expectations every day. Evaluations are free. A+ rated with the BBB and a lot of 5-star Google reviews. Call 877-25-RHINO, 877-25-RHINO, or 877-25rhino.com. See what we did there? Genius. Tell them, ladies.
Don't hate, don't Rhino, go Rhino Shield. Never paint your house again. Rhino Shield.
Still waking up like you fought a bear in your sleep? Yeah, let's fix that. This Labor Day, starting September 5th, save up to $725 on top brands like Tempur-Pedic, Serta, and Beautyrest, only at Snooze Mattress Company in Chesterfield Valley. Here's the real game changer, Dream Mapping. We scan your pressure points and match you to the perfect mattress. No guesswork, just real comfort, personalized for you. Plus, 0% easy financing and local no-pressure service. Get in here, because if you don't snooze, you lose.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. The District of Columbia is suing to stop President Trump's deployment of the National Guard in Washington. White House correspondent Greg Clugston reports.
In a federal lawsuit, the city's attorney general says the surge of troops in the president's law enforcement intervention in D.C. essentially amounts to an involuntary military occupation. Brian Schwab argues that the deployment is an illegal use of the military for domestic law enforcement. The legal action comes after a federal judge in California recently ruled that Donald Trump's deployment of National Guard troops to Los Angeles in June was illegal. Greg Clugston, Washington.
Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. tells the Senate Finance Committee the results of a recent HHS report.
The Maha Report assessment, which the White House released in May, was the first government analysis of the key drivers of childhood chronic disease: ultra-processed foods, chemical exposures, physical inactivity, and over-medicalization.
Kennedy's actions, including replacing a vaccine advisory panel with skeptics, have drawn criticism from some medical groups. The Justice Department has issued subpoenas as part of an investigation into mortgage fraud allegations against Lisa Cook, who's fighting a Trump administration effort to remove her from her role as a Federal Reserve governor. A person familiar with the matter confirmed that subpoenas have been sent in connection with the probe, which was first reported by the Wall Street Journal. A lawyer for Cook called the investigation an example of prosecutorial overreach and said his client engaged in no fraud. On Wall Street, the Dow up by 350 points, the Nasdaq rose 210, the S&P advanced 53. More at townhall.com.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Hi, I'm Chuck McDowell, the timeshare cancellation guy. In 2011, I founded Wesley Financial Group with one goal in mind, to help honest folks out of their timeshares permanently. Today, I run Wesley with my two sons, a real family business, treating every client and every employee like we'd want our own family treated. That philosophy has helped us grow into the largest, most trusted timeshare cancellation company in the United States. Fortune magazine even recognized us as one of the best places to work. Why? Because we genuinely care. In fact, some of our former clients were so moved by their experience working with us, they joined our team so they could help others to timeshare freedom. If you're stuck in a timeshare, give us a call. Let our family help your family.
Call Wesley now for your free timeshare exit kit. 800-822-1716. 800-822-1716. 800-822-1716.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Friday morning starts off dry, increasing clouds, a low of 64. Not quite as cool in the morning, but it doesn't warm up a whole lot because of the clouds thickening up and turning mostly cloudy to overcast with a chance of rain in the afternoon. A high of 71 on Friday. Scattered showers in the afternoon to the evening. That could impact some Friday night football games. Rain in general is light, not much of any thunder, but still could be wet in some spots Friday in the afternoon and evening. Saturday is going to be dry, though, a high of 75 and mostly sunny. Sunny skies on Sunday with a high of 75. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Chris Cooper and Serenity Wealth Management. Discover little-known strategies that could be the difference between choosing the care you deserve or having someone else decide it for you. Get a free copy of Chris's book at serenityltc.com.
Columbo here for my friends at Bluff City Outdoors in Alton. The knowledgeable staff at Bluff City has served the St. Louis outdoor community for decades, and they can take care of all your bow hunting needs, all your trapping needs, all your fishing needs, and more. Plus, while you're there, you can schedule a trip with a local fishing guide and shoot in their archery range. Bluff City Outdoors is open 7 days a week, 1 mile east of Fast Eddie's at 2813 East Broadway in Alton. Follow them on Facebook and at bluffcityoutdoors.com.
News Talk STL, the Hammond Institute for Free Enterprise, and the Young America's Foundation welcome Steve Forbes to Lindenwood University for an inspiring evening on how free enterprise and entrepreneurship make America great. Discover how free markets and small business drive innovation, prosperity, and opportunity. Thursday, September 18th at Lindenwood University Scheidegger Center for the Arts. And this in-person event is free. Reserve your tickets now at HammondInstitute.org. Brought to you by Mid-Rivers and West News Magazines.
All the information I need on the drive to work.
Mike Ferguson in the morning. We keep it on throughout the day, whether it's local, national, or something big that's happening overseas.
News, analysis, and opinion.
St. Louis is #1 for conservative talk.
News Talk STL.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
You're a lying dog-faced Tony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
And you're carrying water for Elon Musk today, aren't you?
From what I can see, Elon Musk is abusive about me virtually every single week. But it's a free country, so
but you never stop trying to ingratiate yourself with him.
Wrong.
Donald Trump's campaign benefited to the extent of $250 million.
Number one, I had a public fallout over a political issue with Elon Musk. I can't be bullied by anybody. I haven't changed my mind. Last time I looked, he was being spectacularly rude about me yesterday. That's life. If we believe in free speech, we live with it. What I have made very clear.
Fixated on.
What I have made. Sorry, no, this is my turn. I think.
Yeah, you got another
Thank you,
15
Mr.
seconds.
Chairman. What I've made perfectly clear in this paper is the situation we've got with successive pieces of legislation, including now the Online Safety Act, is a danger to trade between our countries. And allies and friends and trading partners have honest conversations with each other. I hope many American companies and politicians have honest conversations with the British government. I've not suggested sanctions at all in any way.
507 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. And Nigel Farage, I think that's how you say his last name, his Conservative Party, Tim, is leading in the polls over there in Great Britain. I read this yesterday, along with conservative leading movements in France and in Germany. The right is on the move there in Europe. Nigel Farage is the head of it, and I'm glad that he shut down Hank Johnson. Hank Johnson is a congressman, if you'll remember, that said if we put too many boats in the Philippines, will the island tip over? Remember that?
Guam's going to tip over.
Yeah, remember that genius?
Indeed. Nigel Farage is the UK's Trump, and that's why our left-wing liberal commie congressmen don't like him any more than Trump. And Nigel Farage there, Chris, he's more than the canary in the coal mine. He's laying down the facts and the actual realities on the ground in the UK. It's a warning to us here, Chris, that it's a slippery slope when you start when you start letting the government decide content of speech. It is a short road to oppression and to a tyrannical government. And it's happening in the UK. Thank goodness we have the First Amendment here. The amendment that the left would love to destroy the most, that protects us the most every single day.
And one thing that has not been getting a lot of attention over here in the United States, last week, Britons rose up and marched against the invasion of their country from Muslims. And they said some expletives about Muslims. And I saw the video of it. They were very proud of it. But you won't hear that here in the United States. They're tired of their country being overrun. You hear the stories that in some parts of London where Sharia law is occurring, they're not allowed to go in those areas. And I've also heard some of those folks saying that, we breed. We have 4 or 5 kids. You're not breeding. In 10 years, Britain will be a brown country, not a white country. So kudos to the Brits for standing up for their country last week.
There's a commonality in all this. There's a common denominator in the rise of the right in the European Union and in the UK. And Chris, that's on illegal immigration. Mm-hmm. It's an issue that we don't just talk about here. They're talking about over there. And it has nothing to do with a racist ideology. It has to do with a pride in your country, what your country was founded upon, and not letting an invading force, whether they're doing it through illegal immigration or whether they're doing it through taking up arms. It's the same thing. Mm-hmm. It's attacking your national sovereignty.
Well, and Tim, they even had it in Ireland during St. Paddy's Day. You didn't see the Irish flag anywhere. You saw Somalia, all of these Middle Eastern countries, these African countries, and celebrating their cultures on St. Patrick's Day. And a lot of the people over there, they said, this is not a right-left issue. It's not a political issue. It's about preserving our culture and preserving our nationality.
As my late father used to say all the time, State Senator Nick Schroer, what do you know good?
Your father said that?
He used to say that. What do you know good? You say that all the time to people.
I am excited, excited because the state is finally going in the right direction. We had a Democrat.
Talking about Texas or Missouri?
Well, Missouri is going in the right direction, and finally, following in Texas's footsteps in redistricting. And we saw today that the Democrats said the quiet part out loud is that the Freedom Caucus is starting to push the Republicans in the right direction in Missouri. We saw that with the 2 issues that the Freedom Caucus was the only group that came out and encouraged Governor Kehoe to bring us back to work to deal with 2 things that we should have got done years ago, which is redistricting, drawing the map the right way, not filibustering and kowtowing to the Democrats to preserve a little tiny perfect seat just for them, Emmanuel Cleaver, the guy who said amen and a women, and to deal with initiative petition reform. So, I have to say, Mark Sharp, the Democrat from Kansas City area, we agree with you. The Republicans are going in the right direction, finally, and they're listening to the Freedom Caucus, who is listening to We the People.
Now, what do you expect, Senator, next week? Are the Democrats going to roll over and just say we don't have the numbers, or you think they're going to try to delay this as long as possible? What do you? I know it's hard to get into a liberal's head and try to predict what they're going to do, but do the best that you can.
Well, you can get in there, and there's a lot of room to move around. And I'll tell you, we looked at our crystal ball today before we got on the plane ride to get down here for the Freedom Caucus Summit. And what my crystal ball tells me is that the Democrats will kick and scream. They're going to kick and scream to go into the special session. They're going to kick and scream to go into the veto session. They're going to kick and scream when it comes to introduction of special guests, when it comes to reading the journal, when it comes to introducing bills. They are going to filibuster, and it's probably going to result, and I'm just thinking, it's probably going to result in about 5 movements of the previous question, because the Democrats will do exactly what they do in Missouri, what they do in Texas. Look, the difference is in Texas, they didn't have a super majority Republican Party, so they had to have the Democrats, or at least some of them, for a quorum. The Democrats in Missouri know when they tucked and ran to Illinois, just like the Democrats in Texas did, they probably looked at the numbers and saw, oh man, we better get back home because the Republicans can just proceed without us. So the Democrats won't come to the table negotiating. They're not going to come to the table with any good ideas other than kicking and screaming and crying. And finally, in my entirety in the Missouri legislature, the Republicans are finally growing a spine. And I think we're going to see that next week, us standing up saying, okay, you don't want to talk. You don't want to actually bring any ideas to the table. We're going to shut you down, and we're going to take a vote on this.
Okay, you guys are Missouri legislature insiders. We woke up yesterday morning on the post-disgrace website that the governor had withdrawn his 5 police commission board members and that he is going to renominate them later. For those that aren't on the inside, what's going on here?
Yeah, and I'll let Nick get into the specifics of this because he actually helped write the bill and get it through the Senate over a Democratic filibuster. Didn't even have to PQ the Democrats on this one, and he actually ended up with bipartisan support. But my understanding, Senator Schroer, is that this was a procedural move only by the governor because of the special session, and that he's basically going to reappoint the exact same people. But you can probably explain it a little more deeply.
Yeah, so these interim appointments, they have to be approved either whenever we come back into session for veto session or a special or an extraordinary session. The special session is when we call ourselves back in. The extraordinary session is when the governor calls us back in. Or if we don't have any of those, so if he reappoints them after this veto session and we don't come back for any other reason, we have until January. And just like I said a second ago, it doesn't matter what we do in this veto/extraordinary session. The Democrats are going to continue to kick and scream and make us move the previous question, make us shut them down. And that would have gone with these appointments as well. So I think he's pulling this back. So the focus is not going to be on these individuals, or rather all of these emotional issues rather than the individuals. We're going to move it. He's going to reappoint them. They're all incredible people who are doing really good things. And then we will actually have that discussion come January when we come back into regular session. So it's a procedural thing. Other than that, there's really nothing to it. The Democrats, if they would sit down and say, yeah, we could have a debate on these individuals, then the governor would have kept them there. But all of the insiders know the Democrats are saying you're going to have to shut us down to get us to sit down.
And the former St. Louis mayor and the current St. Louis mayor were trying to make hay out of this. They were trying to make the governor look like he was wishy-washy and withdrawing these people. What's the big deal? But I'm glad you cleared that up, that this was a procedural thing. There's nothing wrong with these folks. They're going to be renominated. He just didn't want this to get in the way of the special session, correct?
Yeah, we see this from time to time when, there may be an issue with someone that's being appointed. The governor will pull them back. And former governors have done this too, and reappoint them down the line if they can, find some sort of consensus. Because if they're denied and that is held up, and it can prevent them from being appointed to anything by the governor again. So it's a smart move on the governor's behalf. I know to individuals that don't really understand the rules because it's very convoluted. It's confusing. I had attorneys contacting me saying, "Whoa, wait a second, we're going in the right direction finally.
Happening?
What's happening?" And I had to break it down to them to let them know, look, the focus is going to be on these 2 issues. They're going to get reappointed. It's just a matter of procedure.
Tim, you want to chime in on that?
No, I completely agree with Nick Schroer. This is nothing for anyone to get exacerbated about. I think that the left is trying to attack Governor Kehoe and the Republican legislature anytime they have the most tiny of excuse to do so. But I'm going to predict right now that the exact same people are going to be renominated. And unless something really bizarrely wrong is found out about them, the Senate is going to happily confirm Governor Kehoe's picks when they go back into session in January.
I'm going to nominate Chris Arps.
There you go.
No, thank you. Hey, before we get to Speaker's stump speech, you guys figured out where you're going to watch the game tonight?
Yeah, so I think we're going to be assembling for perhaps a little card game here at the hotel, and we found a room that has a television in it. So we're going to be hopefully watching the Dallas Cowboys take on the Eagles. Chris, I'll tell you, nobody has any high hopes here in the Big D that Dallas is going to win this first game. But I think people are hoping that after they get past the reigning Super Bowl champs, who look to be absolutely dominant again, that's the Philadelphia Eagles, that maybe they'll have a decent season after tonight's match.
You know, I saw some NFL rankings, and actually the Baltimore Ravens are ranked number 1, and the Eagles are ranked number 2. So that's very interesting how that's going to be a great season. All right.
How are the St. Louis Cardinals or St. Louis Rams on there? Oh, I'm sorry. I stopped giving a darn about the NFL when Jerry Jones and the rest of those hooligans colluded to pull our team out of there. So go Battlehawks.
And it was just strictly greed. They knew the NFL divides all of the money between the teams, and they know they would add a couple of billion more to the pot. And so that's why they did it. I love the Dallas Cowboys. Not a huge fan of Jerry Jones, but it hurt me that the Dallas Cowboy owner was the one who took our team.
Well, Chris, real quick, has the NFL, I know they do this for the past couple of years, putting it in the end zone. Have they ended racism yet?
I don't think so. I don't think so.
We're still working on it.
All right. You ready to do some corner, Tim? I'm sorry, Speaker Stump Speech?
I am. Speaker Stump Speech.
Right.
Get on the corner.
Get on the corner.
Right. Get out of the corner and onto the stump. The Speaker Stump Speech today will focus on the fact that the United States of America needs to pay very close attention to Europe and the UK's failure on free speech.
Listen to me, listen to me.
I'm very consistent. I'm a very stable genius.
It's time for the Speaker's Stump Speech, sponsored by Hanson's Tree Service at hansonstree.com.
Yes, indeedy. No reason for the United States of America to copycat Europe and the UK's failure on free speech. We played you that clip of Nigel Farage, who basically was Trump before Trump. Nigel Farage has been on the world stage in the UK for many, many years, and now he's back again. He's got the UK party at its most popular level ever, as Chris pointed out, definitely rising in all the recent polls, and perhaps they will be the ones that will assemble a coalition government if they don't win things outright whenever they call the next set of elections. The key points from Nigel Farage's testimony before our U.S. Congress yesterday, courtesy of the Deseret News, is this: 3 items. The House Judiciary Committee convened yesterday to discuss Europe's threat to American speech and innovation. So what are they talking about? How can Europe affect American free speech? Well, I'll get to that. After EU Commissioner Thierry Breton claimed that Elon Musk's live stream with Donald Trump violated the Digital Services Act. Number 2, Nigel Farage warned Americans about UK's so-called Online Safety Act. You know, when the left-wing liberals create these acts, they often do the opposite of what they're meant to do, or they don't talk about the nefarious underbelly of what they do as well. Citing cases of individuals, check this out, folks. Individuals in the UK have been imprisoned and arrested for tweets and expressing concern that such regulations could affect U.S. trade. Now, here's how that can happen. Europeans, this is the third point. European speech regulations, like the Digital Services Act, extend global reach through, quote, the Brussels effect, forcing U.S. companies to become the EU's global censorship police. So even though the EU, the UK can't have a direct effect on Americans, they can affect our free speech rights by having American companies bending and bowing to their will if they want to do business in the UK or in the European Union. See how that works? You basically use duress. You basically use contractual requirements. You basically use these ridiculous things like the UK's Online Safety Act. Nigel Farage, echoing J.D. Vance's criticism when member of J.D. Vance, the vice president, went over to the UK, went over to Europe earlier this year and scolded them. Nigel Farage basically came over to our shores and said, yeah, J.D. Vance, Donald Trump, Elon Musk, they're all exactly right. Now, may not know, and he basically said, you may not like what they say, but they should have the right to say it. Nigel Farage pointing out that's what the American First Amendment is all about. It's allowing all of us as Americans to express things that in other governments, we might be immediately jailed for, hauled away, never to be seen from again. Try saying some of these things in North Korea or in Putin's Russia or in Xi's communist China. Now, you should not be able to proclaim genocidal speech, right? You should not be able to proclaim speech that actually hurts people. And those things are restricted and limited here in the U.S. But when it just comes to a passionate, zealous debate on ideas, that's what makes the U.S. great and will continue to make us great again every single year. We should take a note. Nigel Farage's warning from a guy on the front lines, warning about what's happening to free speech rights in Europe and the UK, could come to our shores if we allow U.S. companies to bend to their totalitarian will. It's really a shame, isn't it? Western Europe once used to be a place where you had the Renaissance and this free expression of ideas, and now they're all about preventing people from acting, saying, and yes, even thinking what's on their minds. That is a slow but steady drop down to oppression, socialism, communism, and yeah, as we saw in the 20th century, lots of death. And that's a warning that Nigel Farage gave to us Americans yesterday, and that's the Speaker's stump speech for today.
And we've heard about British pastors that broke hate speech laws when they talked about homosexuality being wrong or any other thing that goes against the popular culture. That's hate speech. People say that it couldn't come here, but it could. Most
Chris,
definitely.
there was one final example.
Mhm.
Do you remember the case last year? There was a British lady who was protesting abortion, and all she was doing was standing quietly and silently on a street corner in the UK.
Yeah.
She was arrested and hauled off for that mere expression of opposition to abortion.
And it could come here as well. 5:23 coming up. We're going to speak with Jesse Kaiser. He's owner and co-founder of Kaiser Enterprises. We're going to talk about his op-ed in the Missouri Times about Americans need transparency and accountability in hospital billing. We'll have that coming up. Listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show on 101.9 94.1 News Talk STL.
It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show.
But the horns, they blowing that sound.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Friday morning starts off dry, increasing clouds, a low of 64. Not quite as cool in the morning, but it doesn't warm up a whole lot because of the clouds thickening up and turning mostly cloudy to overcast with a chance of rain in the afternoon. A high of 71 on Friday. Scattered showers in the afternoon to the evening. That could impact some Friday night football games. Rain in general is light, not much of any thunder, but still could be wet in some spots Friday in the afternoon and evening. Saturday is going to be dry, though, a high of 75 and mostly sunny. Sunny skies on Sunday with a high of 75. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
Conservative talk for St. Louis.
It's your patriotic right and duty. The government needs to step up and do its job.
This is News Talk STL.
It's well-balanced conversation.
News, analysis, opinion.
Hey, you know who saw the non-stuffy lawyers at the Civia Law Center today? Chris Arps' father-in-law. Yeah, indeedy. Hey, we use Civia Law, and you all should too. I know several members of News Talk STL Nation, some of our other advertisers as well have used Civia Law, and they're all extremely happy with the awesome services they've been provided in the areas of estate planning, elder law, and so much more. Todd Civia and the gang at Civia Law are the experts I highly recommend when it comes to those areas of the law, of the legal practices, estate planning and elder law. We're talking wills, we're talking trusts, we're talking powers of attorney and more. You can call them today at 833-995-WILL. That's 833-995-WILL. Set up an appointment today. There's 7 convenient locations for the Civia Law Centers all around Metro St. Louis. The first 10 callers this week that mention News Talk STL, the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show sent you, you get a complimentary $300 strategy session. How awesome is that? Got to mention the station, mention the show as well. They'll know exactly where you came from. 2-week turnaround of completed documents from the initial sit-down appointment. What attorney promises that? Well, the attorneys at Civia Law do. 833-995-WILL. Or if you want to check out a lot of great information, a lot of great resources, simply go to civialaw.com. That's civialaw.com.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli, and my favorite sandwich from Capriati's is the Wagyu beef French dip. So good. It's the au jus that makes it. And the Wagyu beef is pretty good, too. I love Capriati's, and you will, too.
On Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill.
Tony Colombo here for All Solutions Pest Control, the team Christine and I trust to protect our home. We've used multiple services at multiple homes over the years, and I can tell you from all that experience, All Solutions is second to none. If you have a pest problem of any kind, or more importantly, just want to prevent a problem, All Solutions is the team to call. Learn more and take advantage of their incredible $67 introductory offer right now at allsolutionspestcontrol.com.
If a pest-free home is your goal, call All Solutions Pest Control.
Join Aaron Tarlow every Sunday night at 9 on News Talk STL for Shall Not Be Infringed, your voice for Second Amendment rights and firearms education. Brought to you by DG Firearms, Kevin's Guns, Osage County Guns, and Full Circle Reloading and Firearms.
Concerned about the condition of your windows driving up your energy bills? I was too. It's only called STL Windows and Doors. Their Provia windows combine old world craftsmanship the professional way, the Provia way, with over 65 years of combined experience, locally owned, offering competitive pricing and personalized service that the big box companies can't match. Call today for your free in-home estimate and start saving tomorrow. 314-277-5952 or stlwindowsanddoors.com.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com. You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Doctor, my eyes have seen the years and the slow parade of fears without crying. Now I want to understand.
Every Republican got corporate PAC money for the pharmaceutical industry. Democrats as well. Everybody is corrupt, but you? Is that what we're looking at? I don't think so. And I think the issue now... I don't even know what you're talking about. Well, I think you do know what I'm talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. The issue is every time anyone... Are you saying the pharmaceutical industry was supporting my presidential campaign? I'm saying... I don't think so. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that the pharmaceutical industry is a greedy institution which is charging us the highest prices in the world. They are pervasive.
529 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show. I think I'm going to go watch C-SPAN tonight, Tim, to watch that thing between those two. Very, very interesting.
Fiery.
Yes. On the line with us is Jesse Kaiser. He's owner and co-founder of Kaiser Enterprises. We're going to talk about the need for transparency and accountability in hospital billing. Jesse, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm honored.
Hey, I've got a special anecdote personally about hospital billing. About 31 years ago, when my first wife was pregnant, she ended up having preeclampsia. The worst case Barn said they had ever seen. My daughter was in a coma my daughter was she had to be staying in the hospital for a month. Where I'm going with that is, my ex-wife was a nurse practitioner, and after everything was okay and she got out, we got the bill, which was probably about 20 pages long. And because she was a nurse practitioner, she looked through that bill and she was like, I never had that procedure done. I didn't have this. They didn't give me this medication. And we told them that, and they probably knocked off about $5,000 off the bill. But this is a common occurrence where hospital billing is not correct.
I don't doubt it. Anytime you have humans involved in anything, you're going to have some inaccuracies. I don't know if that particular issue is like rampant and how would I say this, done intentionally.
Mm-hmm. I think it was.
Sure.
Because we had insurance and they were padding.
Padding for sure. Yeah. The problem is when you go somewhere, you do not know what's going to cost, right? I've got a 14-month-old daughter. She spent her first 30 days in NICU, taken care of very well. She's doing great now. And I just remember my parents coming over and visiting, like, you're going to need help with the bill. I'm like, no, I've got insurance. I've got a family deductible. We'll be fine. But when we saw the final bill, we're like, holy cow. Yeah. This would bankrupt somebody if they didn't have health insurance.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, Jesse, what I remember this from my legislative days on the state level. We debated this all the time, and there was all sorts of of solutions proposed. So in 2025 America, what are some of the things that you are advocating for that could fix some of these problems that continue to plague probably thousands, tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of Americans every single day?
Well, I'm a big believer in the free market and freedom of choice. So if the hospitals, well, just let's go back a notch. 2019, Donald J. Trump signs an executive order making it that is the law of the land, as far as an executive order can go, that hospitals have to be transparent with the prices. In the state of Missouri, this changes a little bit day to day, but I think it's about 83% of the hospital groups in our state are not transparent right now. You have no idea ahead of time what something's going to cost.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if we allowed you to know that if you have a broken arm and you need to get it set at this hospital, it's this, and at this hospital, it's that, there's going to be a couple things: convenience, preference, family doctor, things like that. But other things, if it costs twice as much to have your arm bandaged up at one hospital group versus the other, that's a 30-minute drive, I may drive that 30 minutes and save the money.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with anything that is like let's say a non-life-threatening procedure that needs to happen right away. You're going to shop that around. Maybe it's on the other side of the state. Maybe it's in a different state. You're going to go somewhere. So I think that's the first thing, is getting prices down. Now, what Medicaid and Medicare pays for the same procedure is drastically less than what they charge insurance companies, like commercial. Like, I'm an employer of about 400 employees. I provide health insurance to my employees. And I've done it in different ways from year to year because every year I have to go back out to the market and try to rebid this to keep the premiums as low as possible and have the coverage stay the same or if not better. So I've done self-insured insurance programs. I've done traditional commercial insurance programs. I've done it all just to try to keep the cost down. No one knows what anything's going to cost when you go in. So even if I had the world's greatest employees that could choose, I'll just tell you this. So I employ a lot of women. So a lot of women want to be on birth control. There's lots of different forms of birth control. But what's interesting, and I've got 5 states I employ people in the same state, let's say state of Illinois, birth control, the procedure that they do for birth control at one hospital could be 10 times as much as another hospital for basically the same thing. And it's just because that's where they wanted to go, and that's what they did because insurance covered it. They didn't think about what the price was. If they knew the price was different and they knew that would affect their premiums next year because I pay 50% of the premiums, I'm telling you, the general public would pay more attention to what things cost and wouldn't have the attitude like I had where, I've got health insurance. It's okay. Now, I'll be fully transparent. My wife is employed by by somebody else. And so her health insurance is through them. So it made no difference to me and my employees how much we were in NICU because that went on their plan. But I could tell you, if she was on my plan and my little girl was on my plan, that would have impacted my 400 employees just having that NICU stay for 30 days.
Speaking with Jesse, go ahead, Jesse.
No, I mean, it's outrageous that you don't know what something's going to cost beforehand. It's crazy.
Speaking with Jesse Kaiser, owner and co-founder of Kaiser Enterprises. He's a franchisee of a bunch of different brands like OxyFresh, Sports Clip, and Waxing the City. Jesse, you've argued that site-neutral payments are at the heart of the solution. How would this reform change the incentives for hospitals?
Well, they're going to have to be competitive, right? And I don't think that they would be sticking you with as many padding situations as you talk about when you got your final bill. And another hospital group said, well, if you would have came here, we wouldn't have charged you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Most people have more than one kid. So if you have a bad experience at one hospital group and you're like, I got jacked with all these bills I didn't understand. And the other hospital group's like, here's a flat rate. This is what it costs for a C-section and 3-night stay or 4-night stay in a hospital. And if you knew that, you'd shop around yourself. But no one knows that.
Jesse, are we talking about the need for legislation on the state level, on the federal level, or both? And I'm just wondering, there's a lot of things we don't want the federal government to do, but I would think that fairness and equality in pricing and transparency would be something that would be good for all Americans. So I'm wondering if there's a one-size-fits-all federal type of proposal for this, or whether each state is going to have to tackle it separately and independently.
Well, there's a million ways that you can skin this cat, right, and get costs down. I've heard for years arguments about tort reform. If the hospital groups weren't worried about getting sued every day, They probably wouldn't have you do as much testing to rule out things so it didn't come back and bite them in the butt later. I think that's one way. But I think if you want to make a change right away, you get it so everything's pricing is transparent and let the market decide where people go. A hospital with empty beds makes no money, right? So if they're overcharging and not giving a great service, they're going to have fewer beds occupied in the hospital group down the road. So I really feel like the open market, the fair market, the capital market is going to dictate and fix these things the quickest. Now, I'd love to see that at the federal level, because what that would do then, since we're in St. Louis, might cross the river and find a better deal over in Illinois, right? But if they're not able to do it at the federal level right now, then I would be happy with Missouri doing this at the state level, and mandating all hospital groups have to publish transparent pricing.
Jesse, in your op-ed in the Missouri Times, Americans need transparency and accountability in hospital billing. You describe how hospital systems inflate costs by acquiring physician practices and reclassifying routine services. Could you walk us through a real-world example of how that looks on a bill?
How it looks on a bill?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it could be different in every situation. But here's what's interesting about that situation. As hospital groups, and I'm not anti-hospital, I just want to be really clear. I just want transparency. But what they're doing, and there's kind of a need for it too, because of the Affordable Care Act, it's put a lot of burden on physicians to stay up to date on all the requirements for Affordable Care Act, to the point where they're like, hey, I went to medical school to practice medicine, not run a business, so to speak. But what's happening is with the hospital groups buying up all the local practices, it gives you less opportunity for competition. So it's not going to allow the prices to drive down to a more affordable price, if that makes sense, right? So if you're in a small community and there's like 15 doctors, private practices, and now there's only 5, and the other 10 are now with the hospital group, you've got fewer choices to shop around and get the best deal.
Jesse, one of the other problems that you point out in your op-ed piece is the rise of the corporate hospital system. And again, nothing against the hospitals and the great people that work there, but we see this in a lot of different industries, don't we, Jesse? Where when there's less competition, when the bigs end up gobbling up all the littles and the mid-sizes, then it seems like consumers, patients, clients, that they're the ones who suffer, right? The everyday Joe and Jane American. You point out that the number of corporate hospital system-owned doctors' offices is rapidly rising, to the point that the share of physician practices acquired by hospitals rose 72% in 8 years between 2008 and 2016. So this is a real issue, isn't it? That with
you're talking about Affordable Care Act years, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yes.
Yeah. It's exactly. So if we want to unwind that onion or whatever, let's get rid of some of those mandates, or let's make them so they're more achievable. The whole digitalization, I remember that in 2008, that was a nightmare for a lot of doctors to digitize every single thing that they ever had. So in theory, it makes great sense. I'm not against it, but I don't think it was implemented right. Just like the Obamacare website, it crashed. It wasn't set up for success from the get-go. So there's a million different ways that we could get the cost down. Sunlight is the best disinfectant. And I believe if we can get pricing to be transparent, the hospital groups, whether they're small or large, they're going to have to figure out how to be more competitive. And that may mean that they're doing less tests that are just 1 out of a million chance that you might have this. We really think 99% it's this. So we're going to test for that. If you'd like to have that other test, this is what it's going to cost to have that test. That's the opportunity that I want to see happen, is where the patient has more choices with the doctor.
Jesse, one of the solutions that you've argued for in your article was site-neutral payments. Explain that to us. What is that?
Site-neutral payments. You got me on that one right at this moment. But what I want to say about site-neutral payments and everything else associated with that is, let's go back to Medicaid, Medicare.
Okay.
Right? Hospital groups take those patients at a loss. It's understandable. Do you know the difference between Medicaid, Medicare payments and on average what Missouri is charging for commercial insurance for the same procedures? 426 times more.
Wow.
Or 426% more. Sorry. Look, hospital groups need to make money. I'm a capitalist. I want people to be profitable. I want doctors to make good money. I want everyone to make good money. Okay. The numbers show around 125% of what Medicare pays will get you at break even for the hospital group, if that makes sense. So yes, they're going to have to charge more than what the government pays for Medicaid and Medicare patients, but it doesn't have to be such a drastic difference. And that's really where the neutral part comes from. It's like, why are commercial insurance programs having to subsidize so much more when they really don't have to?
Tim?
Yeah, Jesse, transparency in healthcare definitely seems like it would go a long way towards, fixing our healthcare and our health insurance system. What other items would you like to suggest that state legislatures or maybe even our federal officials look at?
Right now I'm focused on the transparency because I do feel like this is the gateway to getting everything else moving in the right direction. And I think it's the easiest thing. I had one hospital group say it was going to be like $150,000 to set up this transparency on their website and then $50,000 a year to maintain. That sounds like a lot of money to me and you, but I don't think that's a whole lot of money to most hospital groups. Mm-hmm. And quite honestly, that could be a marketing cost that would get you more patients if you had your prices in line. At least that's the way I look at it as an entrepreneur. So that's really where we need to be is transparency, because that's going to allow the free market to decide where they're going to go for their health care.
Jesse, in our closing minute here, tell us about your businesses. And Tim and I know a great radio station you could advertise on if you wanted to get the word out about them. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm in business with my brother, and for the last 20 years, we've been in franchising. We've had 6 different franchise brands over the course of our 20 years. Currently, those 3 brands, like you mentioned, is Sport Clip Haircuts, OxyFresh Carpet Cleaning, and Waxing the City. Our first Waxing the City location in St. Louis will open up in late January of 2026 in Baldwin, Missouri. We employ a little over 400 employees total. We employ everything from 19 to 20-year-olds just out of cosmetology school to people even older than me, and I won't say my age. But we employ the whole gamut. But I will say a majority of our employees are people that are under the age of 30, just because of the industries we're in. That's where they are. Okay. And so healthcare is kind of interesting. I'm dealing with the situation where if they're not over 26, they're probably still on their parents' healthcare. And once they're over 26, they're at that age where they feel like they're invincible, at least until they, get in a car wreck or get pregnant. And then all of a sudden they've got medical bills they need to figure out. So we've got to figure out how to get health insurance a lot cheaper, so more people want to be on it. That's one of the issues with the Affordable Care Act was they were banking on very young, healthy people to pay premiums to subsidize everyone else. And it just didn't come to fruition. Now, I will tell you that if you could get a healthcare premium down to, well, let's give you an example. I'm going to give away my age, but in 1998, I graduated college and the job I had didn't offer insurance. And my dad was like, do you know how much health insurance is? Now, he was paying for a whole family, right? A 22-year-old man, I was like, and this is 1998 numbers, I was paying $37.85 a month for full coverage healthcare. And the reason it was so cheap was because guys back then, at least, didn't have babies. And so you didn't have to worry about childcare costs, birthing and everything else. So being a guy in 1998 at the age of 22, being healthy, health insurance was really cheap. It was super cheap compared to what it is now.
And we've been
we just got to figure out how do we right size so the hospitals aren't billing the insurance companies so much that the premiums can be lower.
And we've been speaking with Jesse Kaiser, owner and co-founder of Kaiser Enterprises, about his editorial in the Missouri Times about the need for transparency and accountability in hospital billing. Jesse, thank you so much for your time and for enlightening our audience. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Excellent. All right, 5:46. one more segment left. We'll talk about global warming. There's a global warming story in my stack, Tim, that's going to inflame the greenies a little bit, showing that it's a hoax. So I can't wait to get into that. All right, you're listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Doctor, my eyes, tell me what is
It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
to leave them open for so long.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. Friday morning starts off dry, increasing clouds, a low of 64. Not quite as cool in the morning, but it doesn't warm up a whole lot because of the clouds thickening up and turning mostly cloudy to overcast with a chance of rain in the afternoon. A high of 71 on Friday. Scattered showers in the afternoon to the evening. That could impact some Friday night football games. Rain in general is light, not much of any thunder, but still could be wet in some spots Friday in the afternoon and evening. Saturday is going to be dry, though, a high of 75 and mostly sunny. Sunny skies on Sunday with a high of 75. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
The Vic Porcelli Show.
Harris are doing just fine. Thank you very much. Kenneth Raposa from the Coalition for Prosperous America will talk to us all about that Friday at 9:41.
Weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
Oh, like right now?
Hey, Columbo here for Rockwood Charcoal. Rockwood is made from 100% pure Missouri oak and hickory, so you're cooking with the best and supporting local industry and a local business all at once. There's over 100 area Rockwood retailers. Find yours at rockwoodcharcoal.com.
Hey, Jamie Allman here with my common sense brother, Rob Very, owner of STL Bath and Renovation. And let me tell you something, your home is your castle, but so is your bathroom. Rob, how can you make it beautiful?
Jamie, if you're tired of cleaning, you love the tile, but you hate the grout, we can give you man-made or natural stone in your bathroom for your floors and walls, but no grout. Easy to maintain.
And beautiful. All kinds of selections as well.
More than you can count.
STLBR.com, St. Louis Bath and Renovation, STLBR.com. Thanks, Rob.
Thanks, Jamie.
If you have a tree that you think is dead, it might not be dead. Why don't you try to save it first with Roots Plus? Roots Plus can help you save your tree and keep your cash. RootsPlusLLC.com. That's RootsPlusLLC.com or 314-440-3662.
Hey, News Talk STL listeners, this is Levi, CEO of Reach Reproductive Health. There was a huge gap left when the biggest pregnancy center in St. Louis had to close their doors right after Amendment 3. But by God's grace and power, Reach has been able to step into that space. We have acquired Thrive centers and are continuing operations in greater St. Louis. I have a request for you. Would you pray and consider getting to know Reach more? We are here to see babies saved and families transformed by the power of Christ. Get to know us on our Reach community website, outreachforlife.org. That's outreachforlife.org.
Are you looking to sell your homestead? Maybe buy a new one. I've got the team for you, the Wallner Home Selling Team at Berkshire Hathaway. Rodney and Jen Wallner, now joined by our very own Jamie Allman. Yeah, he's with the Wallner Home Selling Team. You can reach all of them today at 314-810-SOLD. That's 314-810-SOLD. The Wallner Home Selling Team, they're going to offer you a flexible commission plan tailored to your family's specific needs, not some cookie cutter model. They've got so many approved home buyers, they're guaranteed to obtain you an offer. They're licensed on both sides of the river. Yeah, we can help you folks in Illinois. Of course, we can help you folks in Missouri and all across Eastern Missouri, not just here in the St. Louis metro. Rodney and Jen, a husband and wife team. Unique family perspective is what you get because of that. 2 agents, actually 3 agents with Jamie Allman for the price of one. Truly priceless indeed. There's no obligation. There's no long-term commitment with any arrangement, any contract you set up with the Wallners. You're the client. You're the customer. You call the shots. If it becomes not a good time for you to sell your home, you can walk away, no questions asked. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team today for a free listing consultation. You will sell your home with this top producing real estate team of Rodney and Jen Wallner. 314-810-SOLD. That's 314-810-SOLD.
Dropping truth bombs and making you think. It's the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
And it is 5:51, and I know Nick doesn't care, Senator doesn't care, but we are a couple of hours away from the opening of the 2025 NFL season. My beloved Dallas Cowboys will take on the Philadelphia Eagles in Philadelphia. And Tim, I didn't know this. Also on Friday, there's another NFL game. The Kansas City Chiefs play the LA Chargers in Sao Paulo, Brazil. That's the first of 7 international games this year. They're going to have 7 international games. That's crazy. I think it's such a big disadvantage for teams when they go overseas because, you're not, you've got that big time difference and everything. I think it just puts the teams at a disadvantage. But,
Chris,
NFL's
we
a cash
are the
cow.
world, right? To heck with the hometown fans, right? So 7 less games for the hometown fans this year.
Exactly.
How ridiculous.
That's a good way to
I don't
put
like
it.
it either.
And when Becky and I were over in England, we actually stayed at the Wembley Hilton where the NFL team stay. They had all kind of jerseys and helmets, signs and everything. Kind of exciting seeing that, of course. Tim, I got a story here about climate control. A new first of its kind study by Dutch researchers finds no evidence of a global acceleration in sea level rise because of climate change. Now, this is not just some hokey paper. This is a peer-reviewed paper, quote, a global perspective on local sea level changes. It's published in the Journal of Marine Science and Engineering last month. It is the first study to be based, and this is what makes it interesting. It is the first study to be based on local data taken from coastal sites around the world rather than on models based on extrapolations. I guess that's the word. So instead of doing models and computers, they actually went and did the science and actually and measured this stuff around the world instead of using computer models. Who would have figured? Joey's laughing at me because I screwed that word up.
Well, Chris, with all this science you and I have been reporting about apparently the green new energy scam, we're just making the left-wing liberal green energy heads explode, right? We had the story a week or two ago about the fact that the Arctic ice is actually increasing, not decreasing. And as you point out, instead of just walking outside and going, oh man, it's so hot today, global warming, the end of the planet as we know it, we're actually talking about scientific peer-reviewed studies.
Joey, can you tell me how do I say that word? Is it extrapolation?
How'd you say it?
Extrapolations. Wow.
Extrapolations.
Wow,
yes.
I thought I was halfway educated. Thank you, Joy, for helping with that. To further go on, it says the study, which was conducted as an analysis of more than 200 tide gauge stations worldwide, cuts against the long-standing belief among climate scientists that climate change is leading to rapidly accelerating levels of the sea. Research conducted by Dutch researchers found that the average rating of sea level rise in 2020 is only around 1.5 millimeters per year or 15 centimeters per century, Tim. So this is significantly lower than the 3 to 4 millimeters a year often reported by climate scientists in scientific literature and the media. We've talked about this. You remember that Anglia University that was supposed to be the preeminent study of global warming? And how WikiLeaks tapped into their computers and found that they were manipulating the data and it was all BS. That stuff has been buried. We don't ever see it anymore.
That's very true. And so therefore, Chris, it's studies for me, but not for thee, right? And so look, I am a huge proponent of protecting and preserving the planet, but I do not believe this junk science that says all of the world's problems are due to mankind and therefore we should depopulate the planet and all go off and die.
Hey, I've got a presidential trivia question for you.
Oh, okay. I'm ready.
Who was the first future president to be born in a hospital?
Oh,
take a guess on that.
So
the first president to be born in a hospital.
We got to go pretty far back, don't we?
Maybe not.
Maybe
That's
not.
all I'm going to give you.
I'm just going to throw out a random one. Right. How about Teddy Roosevelt? Am I too early?
Too early. Jimmy Carter was the first president.
No way.
Yes.
That late.
He was born, and this was kind of weird. He was born in, quote, Y Sanitarium. That's where he was born, in Plains, Georgia. And his mother, Lillian Carter, worked as a nurse there. So Jimmy Carter, first president to be born in a hospital. And here's something that's kind of...
What year was that? Was that the 19... He was pretty old, right? So
he was 100 years old when he died. So what?
So it was 1920 something?
1920, something like that when he died.
Well, that's pretty amazing. Okay.
Yeah, and a morning poll in the Wall Street Journal showed 75% of Americans see little hope for improving their economic status. That's a 35-year high. Almost 70% said the American dream is dead. A 15-year high. Where does this come from, do you think?
Chris, I think it's the leftover malaise from the Joe Biden years. Speaking of Jimmy Carter, I think it's those leftover years, Chris. Those 4 years, Chris, man, they were rough on people. And even though Donald Trump has done some amazing work, he's only been in office again for like 7.5 months. So it's going to take a while to turn that stuff around.
Yeah, and then according to a poll, 45% of Generation Z say they are thriving, according to a new report. Only 45%. So the younger generation doesn't seem too hopeful for the future here.
Got to turn that around.
Exactly. All right, Tim, enjoy the Big D. And we will talk to you tomorrow. Coming up is Larry Connor's USA. The battle is escalating over Trump sending National Guard troops to blue cities, and Fred Flights on how the European Union is dragging out Ukraine's war. That's Larry Connor's USA at 6 up next. You have been listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL. Drive safe and have a great evening.
From home improvement to replacement, do-it-yourself electrical projects can be shocking. That's where Grasser Electric can help. They've been lighting up St. Louis for years. From ceiling fans and dimmer switches to repair or replacing your electric. No job is too big or too small for your home or business. Grasser Electric will even install emergency backup generators. So call Grasser Electric today before the sparks start to fly. 636-441-5200 or go to grasserelectric.com.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug